So, Master Gross, I'm not quite sure how far back to take this, but you were in the Navy. And what year did you join the Navy, sir?
1955. I was 3 years old.
So your mom and dad signed off for you to join the Navy at that age, and you're already a boxer, and you boxed for the Navy. Tell us a little bit about that, sir.
Boxing was my first martial art. This is what I'm going to tell you right now as for all you kids in the audience. Raise your hand. If there's something about you that you want to improve on, you can do anything. When I joined the military, I was 146 pounds, and didn't like everything about my body. I was way too small, too skinny, and weak. And I started lifting weights and got a respectable physique going for me. And then I started boxing, and that wasn't easy. But I lasted through that and actually got up to where I was an Asian fleet champion. In my travels all over Southeast Asia, I picked martial arts up, and martial arts changed my life. Martial arts taught me that anything I want to be, I can do. And I never received no for an answer. So I want all you kids to make a contract with me. Anything in life that you want, you can get it. Whether it's an education, a lifestyle, or something physically.
Thank you, sir. So, you returned to the United States, and you were in Texas, and Master Junri was teaching at San Marcos State College in Texas. Where did you meet him, and how did it come about that you earned your black belt from him?
Well, to back up just a little bit, at the time I did get discharged, there wasn't any such thing as a black belt in a 6-state area, if you can believe that. Now there's a black belt on every corner. But their martial arts wasn't even taught on a large scale in China, Korea, and Japan, especially to Westerners. So it was a brand new art. The first karate school that I opened, Steve, and wrote karate on the window, my first customers came in and thought it was a Chinese restaurant.
So we used to have a big sign in our Escondido school that said Taekwondo. And I used to get calls from the little ladies to refinish their teakwood furniture. That was before Taekwondo was in the Olympics.
Junri came over as an exchange student, as a Korean military officer, and he was going to school in South Texas. And he had already started a karate club, and that he had about 100 students in it. So actually, he was the one that, there was a few other people scattered around New York City and Kansas City and Arizona that had regular karate range, but there were very few black belts. So one of Junri's students, a man named Alan Steen, had a school in SMU campus in Dallas, and he had heard I was teaching in Fort Worth. I heard he was teaching in Dallas. And so we got together and hit it off real well, and he vouched for me. We were working out together, and Junri accepted me as a student. And I was a brown belt at the time. I had earned in Japan, and he didn't like a lot of that, so he changed some of that around. And then Alan made black belt 3 months later, and then I made black belt right after he did. So, but we did have this is for, how many of you in here love kata? Love form. Good. How many of you are stretching that a little bit? Okay. I don't have a lot of sympathy for someone that tells me how hard farm is. University of Texas is in Austin, 200 miles from Dallas-Fort Worth. So when I met Junri, he realized he was he was starting a school in Washington, D.C. He realized it would be a long time before he seen either Alan or me, either one. So he said, I'm going to test both of you guys for black belt. And the form that you're going to learn is by sight. And so he taught me half of by sight, the beginning half of it. He taught Alan from the half of it forward to the end half of it. So we had driven to UT. So on the way back, we stopped and got out in pastures and fields and everything, turned the headlights on, and he'd practice his half and I'd practice my half so we wouldn't forget it. And then when we got back home, we would get together and I taught him my half, he taught me his half. So we worked hard to get that farm down. So that's just really, the farm is your discipline. You'll only be as good in martial arts as your basic fundamentals. I don't care if you've got a lot of natural footwork, timing, and everything. You will only be as good in martial arts as your basic fundamentals. And that's what form is. That's your job, to put the discipline. A lot of people say, can you learn karate without form? And I say, no, you can learn kickboxing. It's an art. It's a good art, but you can't learn karate without form. You can't get the discipline. And that discipline is the part that is the most important part. Everyone, I'm sure most of you here would agree with me that.
Thank you, sir. So, moving forward a lot, you still have a relationship with Grandmaster Junior to this day, and you were the winner of his first national championship, and that was 1963, sir?
1964.
1964, and that was the year right before Chuck Norris and Mike Stone and all those great champions who all followed you. So you were the first national champion.
Yeah, I quit fighting when all the bad boys come in.
Well, let me just tell you a quick story. One of the best fighters to come out of Korea, and one of the only fighters who came out of Korea who actually fought in U.S. tournaments was Master David Moon, who still runs a very big organization in Mexico. And I saw a videotape. Now, this is in the days when people used to do one-shot Japanese-style fighting. And I saw a video, Master Burleson doesn't need to listen to this, shot over Master Burleson's shoulder, and Master Moon took a shot at Master Burleson, and that was all he got. Because Master Burleson just ran him down literally into the ground, and then chased him out of the ring until a referee grabbed Master Burleson. So that was one of the most exciting videos I've ever seen.
I like that story.
I'm sure there are people that have lots more of those, sir. So Master Ogden's talking about 1968. So, ma'am, both of you were doing off-road motorcycle racing, and your doctor told you that he probably thought that you were beating your body harder than the motorcycle, and that you might want to do a safer sport, and somehow you decided that karate was going to be that.
I wanted tennis.
Okay, so how did you get from tennis to Master Burleson, ma'am?
Well, Chuck met me for lunch. We were both working, and he said, I have an appointment tonight. And I said, well, where? Well, with a karate expert. And I said, karate? I thought we were going to take up tennis. And so he signed up. But there was only one girl, it was Phyllis, that I saw in the dojo. And I talked to Talana. She was a yellow belt, I think, at the time. And I said, I'm the type of person who has always believed that anything a man can do, a woman can also do. Maybe not the same way, because we have different muscle structures or whatever the case may be, and I don't believe we can do it better, maybe, than some men, but that's just, But I was my own women's liber. I never joined the Women's Liber Society or anything because I believed they were going too far. My thing was that we had done everything together. And we raced motorcycles together, anything that I had another philosophy. If you if you don't like the fact that your husband's gone all the time to this or that, like racing motorcycles, if you can't lick him, then you better join him.
So then, jumping ahead, some years later, you moved back to California, to San Diego, and with Master Burleson's blessings, you began a studio even though you were a brown belt. Is that right, sir? So tell us about that first studio here in Escondido. How big was it, and who was training with you?
Well, it was 400 square feet, and I had to take out a partition to get that much. And started training with me was my daughters and my wife. And then I got one child student, and I got one adult student, and we kind of started to go forward from there, and then I got a couple more.
So family karate really was the Hawkins family.
Absolutely. and we did demonstrations, and we had some foster children too a little bit later, but we would go to the service clubs around to do demonstrations, and whatever, anybody that would let us do a demonstration. And my demonstration team was my wife, who would beat the stuff out of me, and my children, who did forms and sparred and all that kind of thing. So it wasn't called family karate, but it was, because that's all there was us.
Thank you, sir. And so you had that studio in the studio in Escondido, which still exists, which is our home school. And then when did you start the San Diego school?
That was 1976. What I did was I was advised by a good friend of mine that, you really need to, Escondido's kind of a small town, and you need to get something going in San Diego. So I took out an ad in the phone book for a karate school in San Diego, and it didn't have a location. I just had the ad. But when the ad started hitting, I had an answering service, and we started getting a lot of hits. And then as one thing would happen, there was a Korean instructor there, Jong Lee, who had a school on El Cajon Boulevard, and he left that school and he moved to another location. Well, that school that he had was up for rent, and so I rented that school. And it was amazing, because the first month I signed up about 30 students, and I did about that every month for quite some time. So all of a sudden, the San Diego school was really, I was making my living at the San Diego school. It was awesome. And we just went forward from there, so it's pretty neat.
Great, sir. And that's where Mr. Orange and Master Johnson and Bill Haskell and Paul Sharp and all started out. So I remember coming in late in 1978. We just moved to the United States, and I asked you if I could enroll you. Allowed me to do that, and then I asked you, and then Debbie, our sister, joined, and then we asked Mark, decided he wanted to do it, and so I remember your answer to that, because there were no kids in class. So Master Hawkins was maybe a little less diplomatic in those days. He goes, "Okay, well, I'll let him try it, but if he goofs up," I don't think goof is the word he used, "but if he goofs up, you're all out." So we're very, very grateful to be here to this day. So
I don't know where you learned that.
Well, Mark was 11 at the time. He was 11. And I had a kids class, but they wanted to have the Mark in the class with them. It was much more convenient. And at the time, we didn't have family classes, so it was a pretty big deal, pretty disciplined. But I got to say this about Mr. Johnson. He came in, he was already a black belt and had some training, and we get to be friends, knocking heads essentially with each other. When two dogs get together, they've got to figure out who's the dominant one, and at some point they say, well, we're just about equal, but let's get along and we'll have some fun. And so Mr. Johnson and I spend a lot of time and fun times together. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later, but he was a real good friend. And and somebody that I could count on being there for me. And so I really appreciated his friendship all this time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, I have lots of stories I'll tell you about Master Johnson later, too. So, I'll tell you one quick one right now, is that when Master Johnson was training for a higher belt rank, I would teach the classes up until the senior class in La Mesa, and then he would teach the senior class, and then he would keep me after to be a target. And I quickly learned how to run and hide. And I would duck behind the potted plants or the Nautilus machine or anywhere I could to get away from him. And I finally found out that I could survive for 30 seconds or so if I ran backwards behind his left side. So he said, I knew I was in trouble. So I think that Master Johnson invented jump 360 round kick just to interrupt my running behind and crack me in the back of the head. So I appreciate being part of an inventive process here, and I still have the knots on my head to remind me of it, so thank you. So thank you very much, Master Burleson, for creating this all for us. Thank you, Master and Mrs. Hawkins, for creating this. And I really want to thank, and I know that you all want to thank, all of our instructors who have kept this thing going for generation after generation. And Master Burleson, just quickly tell us in the last couple of minutes that we have, tell us about your vision for this 10th degree Board of Masters so that the next generation continue on, please.
One of the questions I got, because I have a small band of advanced black belts like Mr. Hawkins in different parts of the country, and they asked me if I was going to step down and retire, and I said, no, I'm going to live, be 150 years old. So I'm going to be a healthy 150 and be out there punching and kicking. But I said, the way this is growing worldwide, we need a structure, we need an organization of 9 degree, 10 degrees and I want to see it while I'm still alive. I don't want it to happen after I'm already gone, passed over. So the reason I have a method to my madness.
Thank you very much, sir. Well, thank you, everybody. We really appreciate you coming tonight. Please give a big hand to all of our black belts who support your kids and your families. Master Burleson has taught Master Hawkins, and Master Hawkins taught us that our responsibility is to raise courteous, cooperative karate kids and to teach people to be respectful and to make a difference in the world. And that's what he was honored for tonight by the city of Escondido, and I hope some of you will have a chance to see that video, and hope you see the article in the UT and also on TV this morning with KUSI. So thank you very much for flying out, both of you, and thank you for joining us, sir. It's wonderful to see you. And so if we could just bow to you, we'd be very grateful right now. Okay, thank you. So black belts, please stand. And please face Grandmaster Burleson to hip, and the United States' newest Grandmaster and our Instructor Emeritus, Grandmaster Chuck Hawkins. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll follow Master Burleson, Grandmaster Burleson after. Thank you.
Huh? Oh, I did take some.